Thanks everybody for joining us today. My name is James Thomas. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at Allocadia Software, and today's webinar is talking about 5 ways marketers can win over the C-suite. So today's webinar is a 30-minute webinar, so we're going to go fairly quick here and really talk about some of the experiences we've seen with our customers as they've moved from marketing, budgeting, and planning to really influencing their organizations across multiple different types of people, roles, stakeholders, etc. So just a bit of housekeeping up front. Again, my name is James Thomas. My Twitter handle there below if you want to follow us at Allocadia, and our hashtag today is MPM, which for us stands for Marketing Performance Management on Twitter. If you do have questions, we have a question panel in the GoToMeeting, so hopefully people have used GoToMeeting in the past. Feel free to ask questions there, and I'll be taking a look at them and answering them throughout the webinar as required, or have a little time at the end if we have questions there. So let's jump into it. One of the things that we as marketers often talk about is activities that we do to drive campaigns. We build Facebook pages that try to engage with audiences through social media, through Twitter. We care about shares. We care about pipeline and our funnel. We care about things like multi-step campaigns, smart campaigns, delivering targeted messages to key audiences. We care about lead generation, demand generation. We care about brand. We care about graphics, standards guides. We care about building all of those assets that require us to drive leads and ultimately drive revenue in the organization. So marketing is a unique function within an organization, just like sales is a unique function, just like product management is a unique function. But as we look in our organizations, one of the things we often see when we talk to our customers early on in situations is they're trying to solve a specific problem that they have. They're trying to solve a budgeting problem. They're trying to get visibility into their performance. They're trying to understand how they're driving impact in the organization. And often the challenge is because we are looking at how marketing looks at the world. If we think about the rest of the organization and what they care about, these aren't the things that they care about. They don't really care about how many Facebook friends you have. They don't care about how many Twitter followers you have. They don't care if you share this viral video 1,000 million times. And they really, some may care about your pipeline and your marketing qualified leads, but they don't. That's not really what keeps them up at night. So if we look at the organization as a whole, our C-suite, and thinking about what they care about revenue. They care about security. They care about visibility information. They care about compliance, whether that be compliance with security standards, whether that be compliance with government regulations, accounting practices, industry standards, open source. They care about profitability. They care about words that marketers don't often think about. And so this webinar, I really want to go through and talk about some of the things we've learned with our customers and give you kind of 30 minutes, just 5 key audiences to think about, and 5 tips to really, when you're having conversations with those people around you, will really make a difference. And to me, this has been one of the most important parts of my career, is learning to speak the language of the people you're talking to. We as marketers, again, talk a lot about our customers, and that's really critical and the number one thing we talk about. But if we're going to secure those budgets, if we're going to drive change in our organization, if we're going to align to the sales organization like we all know we have to, if we're going to support and not skirt security standards, we need to be able to talk to different audiences. So I'm going to jump through and talk about kind of 5 key audiences today. Now, there's lots of other audiences that we could look at from the C-suite. Could be when we talk about the C-suite, there's lots of talk about the chief digital officer, and I've missed out the chief operating officer, and there could be chief people officer, and all those other ones that are looking at. Today we're just going to focus on these 5. So the CEO, the chief revenue officer or VP of sales, the CIO, CFO, and just as importantly, the CMO, which is where many of us work. But we know they have a position at the executive table as well, so we want to talk about what they're looking for. So if we think about, first of all, your CIO. Now, CIO is one of the most the role that's probably experienced the most change in the last 5 to 10 years, where in the past the CIO was responsible for building all your IT infrastructure, was responsible for building all your systems of records and managing them, whether that be your ERP system, your supply chain system, your PLM system, whatever industry you're in, your distribution systems, and really making sure they build robust, reliable, secure systems that worked for your organization. Now, over the past several years, we talked, and there's been many research reports, Gartner research reports, talking about how the CMO will outspend the CIO in terms of IT spend. I read a report the other day saying that 40% of IT spend still happens in the cloud, happens outside of IT. So just because all these trends have happened, the modern CIO is really adapting and evolving with these trends, and they're really trying to be a support in the organization. We find many marketers avoid the CIO, and that's kind of why I wanted to put it first. If you think about what the CIO really cares about, is they're trying to make sure that they've built systems of records for ERP and supply chain and others, and they want to make sure that whatever you're going to use is compatible with those systems, that you're not starting from scratch and replacing things that already are in place. They care about security and privacy protection. That's a huge part of what they do, that they're responsible for security standards. And the modern CIO knows that there's no point in fighting the cloud. The cloud is inevitable, but many of these companies have invested significant dollars in on-premise systems. Modern CIOs maybe not, but whatever they do, they want to make sure that what you're doing is delivered in the cloud in a secure way in a managed environment. So what we see with our customers and with many other customers is they've invested significant dollars in investment into things like their Salesforce systems and their ERP systems, their finance systems, their invoicing systems. And so really the most important thing we can do is provide them systems and provide really CIO with a system of record designed for marketing. And that's really what we've kind of done here at Allocadia in thinking about the investments in your ERP, your supply chain systems, and marketing is invested in pretty significant technologies as well, whether that be marketing automation, MRM technologies around calendaring, social media, and really thinking about how all of those technologies fit together into one place. And so I'm not going to get into the full demo of Allocadia today, but we see this as one of the most important things that marketers can do today is bring together all of those different systems into one place, into one environment, so that you can truly get that full visibility. And as we go through the other environments, if you can work with your CIO and making sure you're protecting what they've invested in, but providing something designed for marketing, we believe everybody can get that value out of a system like this. So that's the CIO. Pretty obvious one to start with, but often one neglected by many people when modern marketers, as we think about we can do this ourselves, we have the cloud. But if you're talking in a large, mid to large organization, supporting the CIO's requirements, we've seen our companies that invest in us have done extremely well by investing there. So the next big one is the Chief Revenue Officer, VP of Sales. What do they care about? We often, when we have this conversation with VPs of sales, we're talking about things like leads. We're talking about programs, and they do care about that stuff. But what they care about at the end of the day is revenue. Revenue-driven marketing is such an important term that we see today, and getting companies to go past thinking about marketing activities, marketing programs, to thinking about how marketing drives revenue. And there's companies like the Pedowitz Group and Serious Decisions and IDC and Forrester all really helping us as marketers look at the revenue problem, to look at how not just we drive activity, but how that marketing impacts revenue, whether that be current revenue and what's worked today, but just as importantly, understanding future revenues. What's my targets? What's my forecast? Because that's what the salesperson and the VP of sales is going to have to justify every single day. And you don't want to have that situation where the salesperson in their quarterly meetings or weekly meetings with their forecast and not giving them any visibility into how the marketing pipeline is driving revenue in the current situation, but also how marketing, the leads that have been built up and the investments have been built up, the brand has been built up, if it continues, how it will drive future revenue. So what we want to do is encourage you to always show how marketing is driving revenue, not just leads. And so as we work with our customers, put a pretty significant investment into looking at things like the results, actuals, and plans. So this was a dashboard that comes out of our system that answers some key questions. You can obviously drill down into details about, what's the results plan? How much do I expect to drive? How much have I actually driven? How much is left to generate? And what's working? So in this specific scenario, what's my investment by region? As you scroll down in this, what's my conversion rates? What programs are actually working? So we can have a dialogue with sales to say, this is what we see working. This is where we see investments being made. Is this the right thing for us? Is this the right program for us? Is that the right region for us? We made guesses that we could grow enterprise revenue by 20%, but it doesn't feel like that's happening. We're growing better in mid-sized enterprise, or we thought this region would grow well, but it's not growing as well as we thought. What's going on there? Those are the kind of conversations that you want to be having with sales, is talking about revenue, not just lead generation activities. So let's move on to the CFO. So we're going quickly here. Lots of quick information. I want to keep this webinar short, just give you some things to think about. Really want to encourage you to be challenging what you're doing today to make sure that you're thinking about what you can do to drive with the organization and how you can talk to these other folks. So if you have any questions, jump in here. The next one is a really important one for me, and one that when I became an Allocadia customer, spent a lot of time with our CFO, who was really struggling with making marketing self-sufficient. CFOs have a huge responsibility today around revenue recognition and compliance and GAAP and all of the things that they need to do on a daily basis. And what we found in many of our customers is that as CFOs go through the entire budgeting process for the year, understanding where dollars are spent, often all they're doing with marketing is handing you over some big number. So here's your, never big enough number, as we all know as marketers, but a number that's here's what you can spend. They might give you some breakdown into here's what you think you should spend for headcount versus programs, and then they might hand you just a really big spreadsheet, or they might give you access to their budgeting tool, just was simply not designed for marketing. And so there's been this conflict between CFOs and marketing, where marketing says, well, they don't give me what I need, so I'm just going to take, and do whatever I want, and be able to provide my self-support. So we've seen companies do amazing things with spreadsheets, build 30-tab spreadsheets for themselves to track their marketing plans and do whatever they can do not to work with finance. And it's just that we just think that's a mistake in modern organizations. CFOs are there to help drive the business, but they don't understand marketing like you understand, just like you don't understand finance as well as you could. They don't understand marketing as well as they could. So the best CFOs I've seen, the ones we've worked with that are leading edge organizations, their goal is to make marketing self-sufficient, but they want to make sure that you're aligned to the corporate budgeting program. So they want to make sure that whatever their GL codes and all of their systems and processes that they've put in place are respected, and they want to make sure that you are aligning your marketing budget to what their corporate budgeting is, so that there's a seamless interface between those two. And finally, they want to understand marketing's impact to the forecast. So just like the revenue, they want to have clarity in saying, if you're at the executive table saying marketing is driving this much activity, and we think that we can impact the forecast, if sales and marketing can go in aligned, then CFO can be much more confident in how they organize and manage their budget. So talking to the CFO, it's all about delivering insight into investment plans. So how much do I plan to spend, making sure that I'm aligned to the corporate plan, and understanding the marketing forecast to help deliver that. So the key for us in working with our customers is to build systems that align to that. So look at a couple screenshots here. The first one is about my investment plan. And so investment plan is in this one, I'm planning investing 16 and a half. My forecast is 10. I'm on track to be under by 5.6 million. Now we both know that, all know that's not a good thing. As a marketer, you want to be able to be spending to plan. And we've got customers whose reason for being a customer of ours is to be within 2% of their plan every year. We have other marketers saying we want this plan to be in place, but we want to make sure that we push it as hard as we can, and that if we need to ask for more money, that the finance team knows we have visibility into that budget, but we know that we've worked with our sales and marketing teams to say, you know what, we need to go over budget this year, and here's the impact it's going to make. The other thing you want to look at here is understanding across different teams, so you can answer questions like, will we be on plan tomorrow with our commit for budget? Which team will be on plan today and tomorrow? Will we meet our forecast? And then understanding the things like target by plan by team. So what's my different? What are my teams planning to spend? Who's on track? Who's not? These questions, often as marketers, and in my experience, and really one of the reasons our company was founded is because answering this kind of question would take hours, days, weeks, weekends, fire drills, and as marketers, we just can't afford to be doing that anymore. We need to have this kind of information at our fingertips. We want it to be aligned to the corporate plan. We want it to be visible to CFOs. If we're in that board meeting, if we put our MO in that board meeting with the CFO, we want them to have this information at their fingertips, available at any time. So don't forget the CFO. That's one of the things that I think marketers if there's one thing that scares marketers more than a CIO, it's the CFO. We find many of our customers that just have had such bad experience working with that team. But if you can understand what their role is, understand that they're really trying to actually help you as an organization. They want you to make sure that you're using all of their finance systems as they were designed to do. They want to be the source of record of truth for revenue and forecast in the organization, but they want your data to feed into theirs. And so that's where companies that invest significant amount of time in planning out how they want to integrate with those systems, making sure that they bring in all of the actuals from your invoicing system, align those actuals to campaigns, align those actuals to corporate objectives like we will show in a second. Then marketing has a better handle on how they're doing business, but finance has a lot more confidence into how you're driving your business, and we see companies that do this effectively have really outperformed their competition. So my message here, while in the past it's been difficult to work with finance, we just don't think there's any reason why you can't work with them closely to understand their role, what they're trying to do, integrate our systems together, deliver those investment plans so you know how you're planning to invest, and give them visibility into what you believe you're going to drive with your VP of Sales, your Chief Revenue Officer, in terms of forecasts. So the next one, and I kind of left it near the end, was the CEO, and I think CEO obviously has a huge impact in organizations, and what CEOs are really trying to do is to ensure that they've worked hard on setting corporate objectives. What are those 3 to 5 to 6 things, 7 things that they really care about driving? We're working with a customer right now, really trying to understand what are those core objectives of the organization, whether it be driving a new region, investing in new product development, expanding your product line, going public. What are those corporate objectives that they care about, and really thinking about how marketing's contribution to corporate objectives makes sense. So speak in their language. And I think that I'll show you some examples in a second about how you might want to do that. Again, it's about revenue, understanding marketing contribution to revenue. Are you just a lead generation machine? Are you a brand machine? Are you building nice graphics? Do you have viral videos? Those are all interesting and probably fun for your CEO. But what they really care about is, are you actually helping them drive growth in the organization? I know in our company, our CEO, she's relentless on understanding these key factors and understanding how we can become the best revenue-driven marketing organization in the world. And thankfully, we have some good software to do it, but it becomes a corporate-wide objective that we've put in place as a marketing team, saying that marketing contribution to revenue is a core strategic asset or core strategic objective for our company. And finally, understanding marketing efficiency. They don't necessarily need to know all the details of how you're working, but they need to know that you have a really good handle on your spend. They need to know that you know what's working. They need to know that you're agile enough to change what's not working, and they need to be able to have that confidence to invest more dollars. And if you need more dollars, if you need more time, if you need more resources, that the CEO can be the champion for your organization because you've given them visibility into what's happening in marketing. So the key takeaways here is don't hide from the CEO. We've heard some customers that don't really want to share all of their strategic plans and revenue or ROI forecast. We feel really strongly that giving full visibility into what's working, what's not, throughout the entire sales cycle and entire corporate objectives, and you're always ensuring alignment. If you can speak the CEO's language, understand what those core objectives are for the organization, make sure your plans are aligned to it, then I think you can be a really effective marketer and have that conversation with the CEO that you maybe couldn't have before if you're talking about, again, the Facebook likes. So I think thinking about delivering visibility and ensuring insight, again, back to the revenue plan, the revenue one, how much is left to generate, what's working. And if you think about this at a level deeper and over on the right-hand side, talking about the type of corporate objectives that might be coming into play. Now, in my company, we have kind of 5 core objectives, and I've built my entire Allocadia system to align to those 5 core objectives. And if I don't have a spend that aligns to that, I have to question myself, why am I doing it? Whether that be investing in growth in Europe, which is a potential corporate objective, small mid-sized business, which is a corporate objective, whatever they are for your organization. Investment in the cloud, high tech, in verticals, whatever your corporate objectives are for growth, you want to be able to make sure that you're tagging the revenue and your spend and your investment based on those corporate objectives. Because CEOs really don't care about the activities. And if they do care about their activities, you've probably got a CEO who's probably a micromanager, which probably isn't what you want anyway. So let's hope you're not in that situation. But if you want to move up to the level that they do care about, they care about objectives, they care about strategic initiatives, they care about how you're impacting revenue. They want to know that you have a good handle on your plan. They want to know that you know what's working, what's not. They want to know that you have a good handle on how your leads are converting into driving revenue. And they want to know not just actuals, but they want to know your forecast of where you think you can help drive the business. And I think if you can do those things and put the investment into all of those areas, then having that conversation with the CEO becomes a lot more interesting. Talking about how this corporate objective was 20% of our investment spend. It yielded this type of activities that drove this much revenue, that hit this plan by exceeded our plan by 5%. That's a way better conversation than talking about we had 1 million likes on Facebook or 100,000 views on our viral video. I mean, those are fun things, but not what the CEO cares about. And finally, the person we probably work for, maybe we are that person, is the CMO. And what I know in my marketing career and every marketing organization I have worked with, making that CMO give them the full visibility in the marketing performance at their fingertips anytime, whether it be the budget, understanding the revenue impact, understanding what you're spending, understanding where you're under-investing, over-investing, how your results are driving revenue. Can you prove some type of return on investment based on what you as an organization have asked for? Those are the kind of things that the CMO cares about. They care about obviously a lot of the activities, but the CMO, when they sit at the boardroom table, I know I've done this before, these are the kind of questions that you're going to get asked. You might get asked about lead generation. You might get asked about demand, how many leads we drove from this trade show. But really what the questions you're getting asked are, how are you doing on your budget? What did this series of activities in that main campaign work? When we talk about this corporate objective, we said we were going to invest this much dollars in it. Did we spend that much money? What did we spend it on? And what were the results? So I know when I before I became an Allocadia customer, getting those kind of questions was pretty daunting, and I'm sure I feel a lot of pain from CMOs having the same experience. So how do we get that information right at their fingertips all the time? And there's really two key things about driving that. The first is about planning and budgeting strategically. So planning and budgeting is not an option. We've been doing it as marketers for as long as there's been marketing. We've been figuring out what we're going to spend it on. We've been spending it on it. And we've been tracking it. We've been doing it in massive spreadsheets. We've been doing it in antiquated tools. We know there's a better way. We'd love to talk to you about that after this call. This isn't designed to be a detailed overview of Allocadia, but there's a better way to do this. And if you can do plan and budget strategically, not just replace your budget spreadsheet, then you can start to predict revenue performance, which is the conversation the CMO wants to have at the boardroom table. So the first one is about budgeting and planning strategically, thinking about what am I going to spend this money on. In this little screenshot, you things like scenario planning. What am I forecasting? What am I committing? What's optional? In my company, I put additional scenarios of best case, worst case. What if my budget increases by 10%? How can I do that? How do I align to however I want to be looking at marketing, whether it be from a field marketing perspective, a corporate marketing perspective. We see many of our organizations now aligning to industry standards benchmarks like the Serious Decisions Campaign Framework, which we have some webinars online, the Corporate Executive Board view, IDC's marketing taxonomy. Definitely encourage you to look at industry standard type formats for you to look at how to budget not just on what you're planning on spend by region, but how do you really look at tagging your revenue so that you understand how this spend and these results align to corporate objectives. And the second one is about predicting revenue performance. So again, we've shown this a few times. This is really about what's my revenue forecast. If my funnel continues at this rate, how much do I plan to invest? And then what's my forecasted return on investment for tomorrow? So that's my 30-minute overview. My goal today was to really challenge marketers to think not just about how we as marketers understand what our job is, not just think about budgeting as an activity we have to do, not just think about the campaigns that we're trying to drive, but flipping the whole conversation of, let's have a conversation with my CIO and talk about how we can connect your systems, talk about how we're driving revenue, talk to our CFO about insight into investment plans, forecasts, the things that they care about, work with our CEO so that they can have confidence in what marketing's building, and ultimately, for marketers, making sure our CMO is the hero in the organization. And if we do those things, I think we can have a lot more fun as marketers. We can be data-driven, but we can still allow what I love about marketing is that creative side, that we don't just get into the quantitative deep data analysis. We need to do that, but we can also do more creative things. We can get the budget we need to drive the business, and we think we can make marketing that key player in the C-suite to drive performance of organizations. So that basically wraps it up. One of the great things that we get to do at Allocadia is work with some great marketing organizations, and here's a list of them here. I'd love to talk to you about your marketing organization and how you're trying to drive performance, some of the challenges you may be having with people and roles in your organization, and would love to talk to you further about it.